Barbados mourns for its longest-serving Prime Minister. That's the major story in this your Monday, July 27th, Barbados Today evening news update. Flags fluttering at half-mast signaled the mood in the country as it mourned the early morning passing of its fifth Prime Minister, Professor Owen Arthur. He passed away at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital at the age of 70. Barbados is now observing 3 days of national mourning as Arthur's successor in St. Peter, Minister of Labour Colin Jordan, coordinates his state funeral in conjunction with the Cabinet Office. The unwelcomed announcement of Arthur's death, which came shortly after midnight, immediately triggered an outpouring of tributes, with many praising the former Prime Minister and expressing sadness at his passing. In a touching tribute, Prime Minister Mia Mottley said Professor Arthur discharged his duty as Prime Minister of Barbados and a Caribbean leader with distinction.
On looking back at the closing years of the last century and the early years of this century, there is no doubt, my friends, that Owen Arthur was the man for the times. My friends, our country, Barbados, is the poorer for his passing. His intellect was larger than life, believe you me. His love of country as constant as the northern star. The last title bestowed on him was the most fitting, Professor of Practice. For Owen was first and foremost a teacher, taking the most complex economic issues and stripping them down to be understood by the average man and average woman in shop. His keen sense of history and of politics shared daily with an emerging class of politicians that he would claim responsibility for bringing to public life. As I said earlier, a man of his time and for the times in which he served. He discharged his duty as Prime Minister of Barbados and as a Caribbean leader with distinction. He shall remain in that pantheon of Caribbean leaders. On behalf of the government and the people of Barbados, we say thank you to Owen Arthur and to his family for his service to a grateful nation and to a proud people.
Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Arthurlee, who served in an Arthur cabinet between 1994 and 2008, described his former boss as a flawed genius.
Mr. Arthur had a penchant for political mischief. I use those terms in a mild sense of the word mischief. In a strange way, I think it was part of his appeal. Of course, in a given circumstance, the fierceness of his politics would manifest itself through the use of his tongue or tactics, and his opponents and detractors would know that they were in a fight and that they were up against it. I was once asked to describe him by someone who was writing a book. In response, I used the term flawed genius. All of us achieve the status of the flawed. Few attain the status of genius. Humbly, I would wish to submit that Owen Arthur did. He achieved the status of genius.
There were heavy hearts across St. Peter as tears flowed freely as constituents mourned the loss of the man who represented them in Parliament for some 3 decades. Many in Rosehill, St. Peter said although Arthur had been hospitalized over the past week with a serious medical condition, they were hoping he would pull through. They described their former representative as the greatest member of Parliament and Prime Minister of all times.
He did a lot for we the people down here in St. Peter. He made sure that no accidents, no more accidents, and the hill up there, there was and he cut down the road, he cut road, made sure all through here, all around here get toilet and bath. Yes, he do the road and everything well. And add on toilet and bath and thing on the people's house to make them comfortable and thing. He was a very nice man. Can't get away from that at all.
He was a good man. He was really a good Prime Minister. Really good Prime Minister. Because he would help you. He would do anything in his power to help you, right? He was a good man.
Even the people around the world say he's an outstanding Prime Minister. And they know that. Because he tried hard and he made sure he put his effort in everything he was doing towards this country. So it's a great loss to us.
But he was very helpful. He helped everybody in the community. The only person he don't help is we want to help.
He's like family to us. We grew up calling him Uncle Owen. So it was a great loss, especially for home here in Ben Hill. He was honestly a great man to all of us, not only as a prime minister, but as a person himself.
I know him from time he was just a little child. And I find out that when he was a very, very, very nice prime minister to Barbados. I remember when we had nothing, the ambulance could not pass through here, needed the flight have to stop in halfway. And he came and he gave us a road and he gave us light and he opened up the way that we could see. So when I hear about his death, I know we miss a very nice prime minister, and I wish his family.
Now, as many Barbadians remember the late leader, his 3 surviving siblings described him as a central figure in the Arthur family despite his dedication to public service. At the family house at Rosehill, St. Peter, his younger brother Richard Arthur, younger sister Patricia Roach, and older sister Valmy Arthur told Barbados Today that while they are in pain over their brother's death, they will forever hold close to their hearts the special memories they have created over the years.
It's going to be a hard one because we would go and pick fruits. Pick fruits. And if he was going to St. Philip to see Lady Isabel, his granddaughter, or his daughter Sabrina, I would have to tag along. So we had many runouts and outings together. And that started from the time we were children, going to play corner to cricket with Dad and things like that. So I have no run-around companion anymore.
I'm happy to say that I had good times with them. Like all brothers, we had fights. There was ups and downs.
All siblings.
All siblings, but particularly brothers. We always had strong discussion, arguments. But at the end of the day, we all came back together. As I said, we were together on Father's Day, despite our recent fight. And he was here Sunday night together, having tea and biscuits with Valmy. So my memories of Owen is really, my first good memory of Owen was taking me to All Saints Boys School in a long short pants as such. Very long short pants. I think it was a hand-me-down from his time as well.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Across the region, tributes have been pouring in for the late Prime Minister Owen Arthur. CARICOM Chairman St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves described him as a titan who was deeply committed to the deepening of the regional integration movement. He said our Caribbean, our hemisphere and our world have lost a statesman and intellect of the highest quality. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, in his tribute, paid respects to a man who he said served Barbados and the Caribbean with distinction, while St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Shastney extended deepest condolences to Barbados. CARICOM Secretary General Irwin LaRocque said the entire region mourns the passing of an ardent regionalist, and Guyana's main opposition People's Progressive Party Civic said the region had lost an eminent elder statesman and a champion for equal rights and democracy. And finally, on the international scene, COVID-19 is easily the most severe global health emergency ever declared by the World Health Organization. So says its leader, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who also revealed that he would reconvene the WHO's emergency committee this week for a review. There have been 5 other global health emergencies, 2 outbreaks of Ebola, Zika, polio, and swine flu. There have been more than 16 million cases of COVID-19 reported since January and more than 650,000 deaths.
This Thursday marks 6 months since WHO declared COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern. This is the 6th time a global health emergency has been declared under the international health regulations, but it's easily the most severe. Almost 16 million cases have now been reported to WHO, and more than 640,000 deaths. And the pandemic continues to accelerate. In the past 6 weeks, the total number of cases has roughly doubled.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.